this week is Lokha Mano hands. It's the idea that we can do yoga practices even when we have hand, wrist, shoulder issues, that we can focus on things that we can do without weight bearing on our hands. So you can join me in that. All right, so close your eyes as you're ready to take your seat. And take some big, deep breaths. And let your breath and your inner view come together. So begin to watch the breath moving in through the nostrils, maybe even up towards the skull, and maybe even down towards the belly on the inhale. And on the exhale, there's a movement that returns in that same pattern, belly towards the skull and out the nose again. And just see if you can follow that pattern. So it makes almost like it would be like a cane, the view of a cane as it comes through the nose and up and then down through the body. And exhaling back up again, up and over and out through the nose. And you might notice that as the breath comes in, it's cool. And as the breath comes out, it's been warmed up by the body and warms the tissues. So Ujjayi Pranayama, which is the name of the basic breath pattern we use in yoga, where we're breathing through the nose, it means victorious breath. But more than that, it's a warming breath. So believe it or not, this breath practice actually brings warmth to the body. So we're going to practice this breath practice with 5 counts in and 6 counts out. So that we very gently begin to lengthen the out breath. 5 in, 6 out. Feeling that warmed breath coming back out through the tissues in the nose. And now we're going to add sun breath to that. So we take the hands and drape them down by the sides, palm face away from you. And the 5 count inhale, we sweep the arms up. And as we exhale, the prayer hands come right down through the center line of the body for 6 counts. And then we inhale, fly. And exhale through the center line. And as you do, can you return your vision to that inner breath pattern? And can you link the movement with the breath so that neither arrives before the other, but the movement rides along with the breath? Let's do 1 more minute of that. And then ideally, just to bring a little more refinement to the practice, let the breath have a teeny head start of the movement so that the movement rides the breath. So the breath begins and the movement catches. And maybe even to further refine, we find a little pause at either end, where we hold the breath briefly and then let the diaphragm make its turnaround before we go in the other direction. And there's that little pause where we just relax and release and feel the quiet of the pattern. And in that place of quiet, there's this sense of peace and rest and coming to center. Do one more all together. We'll finish up with our hands in prayer in front of the heart and just take a moment to notice the shifts in your body-mind from that beautiful breath practice. And into that space of peace that's growing now in your body, insert an offering, a wish, an intention. And bow to make that your offering for your practice today. Inhale, come all the way up. And gently blink open your eyes. So we're starting on our backs, and we're starting in Supta. Remember, Supta means reclining. Supta Baddha Konasana, Supta, reclining cobbler's pose. So my feet are together in a prayer, and my hips are as close as feels generally comfortable to the feet. And then I very gently curl and lay back down, bringing my hands to a T. And now I want you to press your feet together isometrically. It doesn't have to be super hard, but just to begin to bring muscle awareness and engagement through the legs up into the buttocks. And you might notice as you do that you get a little lumbar curve. That's a good thing. And if you just for a moment, to be a little yogi scientist, release that effort and just notice what happens in your body. And then create the effort, pressing the feet together, noticing that engagement growing up through legs, inner and outer, and through the buttocks to make them a little bit more full. And the lumbar spine lifts up, and then draw the belly in and up. It's almost like the action is almost like we wanted to try to bring the belly in underneath the ribs. And then as you inhale, snow angel your arms overhead till they're pointing to the wall behind you. And just take a couple real big deep breaths. We'll take that same cadence we were doing with our sun breath. So inhaling for 5. And exhaling for 6. And then once you've released that exhale, I want you to really pause and see if you can bring the belly up underneath the ribs. So without breathing, it's like you're sucking up the innards of your belly up underneath the ribs. And then you release that. And then you inhale for 5. And then you exhale, release it out. And then without breathing, you suck the belly in and up. Release that and inhale for 5. Exhale. Hold the breath out, suck in the belly. Release that and inhale for 5. We've got one more round. Exhaling completely. Sucking it up. And release that. Beautiful. And that's just a nice way of massaging the inner organs and bringing more action into the belly. From here, you're going to take your hands down by your sides, gently lift your knees up, and take your feet as wide as the sticky mat. Take your hands back out into T and just start dropping, inhaling your knees to the left, exhaling back to center, and then inhaling to the right, exhaling back to center. And because our emphasis today
is on no-handed practice. As you're doing this, can you send some attention to your hands? And can you notice whether you're holding tension there? And if you are, please release it. Let it go. Let the hands be super soft. Because when we add tension into our hands, we do a couple different things. One thing we do, and keep moving as I'm talking, one thing we do is we create tension in the wrists, the elbows, and the upper arms and the shoulders. So nothing is separate in yoga. We see that as all connected. When we can keep the hands soft, we allow for a little more softness across the chest and through the shoulders and inner arms. That's one thing that happens. The other thing that happens when we release our hands is we allow our attention to come back into the physical body, the more internal or close to center or core part of our body. But when we put tension in our hands, our attention goes towards that tension. So I'm going to ask you to release it, and I'll remind you throughout practice today to try to just release tension in the hands, the elbows, the wrists, and the shoulders. All right, come on back to center. Step your right foot into the center of your mat. Take your left foot and drape it over. And then you're just going to reach through and around your legs and hug them in. You might feel a little stretch there in the back of your left buttock cheek, and then you can just kind of gently go left and right. Just move those knees a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, and kind of just give a little massage there onto the back and breathe. And then come back to center so that you feel all four corners of your torso on the mat, and reach your hands down to your ankles and just bring your ankles towards your body. So it's like you're looking like an A. If you look down at your knees, that's the top of the A, and the feet are going wide, and just breathing and getting a little hip stretch here. Another deep breath in, and gently release. You're going to stand down on that right foot without changing anything. You step on it, lift your hips up, and take them to the left. Drop the knees to the right. Take your hands back out in your T, or your arms out in your T. Relax your hands out. Bring your attention with those legs. You can gently squeeze the midline. You squeeze the inner thighs together, and you feel then safe in that gentle twist. Another couple breaths. So from your feet, bring a little enlightenment, a little bit of attention, a little bit of action all the way up into those inner thighs. Relax the shoulders, the neck, the elbows, the wrists, and the hands. And as best you can, release your left shoulder to the mat. Just let it go. And then as you exhale, little abdominal support. Bring your legs all the way back to center. Unravel your legs. Take them wide. Again, just take a moment to feel the difference between the way your right hip encounters the earth and your left hip. Take a breath. Exhale it completely, and then step your left foot into the midline and drape your right leg over. You're going to reach your knees and bring them into the chest, hug them gently, and you can rock them a little bit left and right just to get a little massage there into the backs of the hips. And breathe. And then reach on down, let your hands glide on down your shins till they find your ankles, and then bring your ankles wide. So if you look down at your legs, they look like an A. And you just pull those ankles wide, feel that stretch in your external rotators. And then you release that, step back down on your left foot, root down, lift your hips off the floor, and scoot them over to the right. Drop your knees to the left, squeezing, making the legs awake and active so you can start to squeeze inner thighs and feel that lengthening and stretching deep into the core. And then starting at the hands, relax the hands and see if you can drop the shoulder, the right shoulder down to the floor. Don't forget that squeezing action of the legs makes the core come alive and support the spine. And it's one of its most important jobs. As much as you can to let the tension be relieved from your head, your neck, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, and your hands. One more breath here. And then very gently, with a little abdominal support, squeeze and come on back to center. You're going to unravel those legs, take a cleansing breath, and then you're going to find your heels with your fingertips. So if you can, they want to be close enough to your booty to tickle them. And as you inhale, you lift your arms and your hips up off the floor. The arms create a rainbow until the arms are overhead on the floor. Then you exhale, this time not for 6 counts, but kind of quickly, so that you just release the air. And then from there, you draw the abdomen underneath the rib cage. You suck it up. You keep that action, and you arch and drop your hips back to the floor. When they get there, you release the hands all the way down to the hips. So I'll talk you a little more quickly through that. That was a long explanation. Now we're going to do it with a little more rhythm. So we inhale, sweep the arms, lift the hips. Exhale pretty quickly. Without breathing, suck the belly, the abdomen up underneath the ribs. Keep that and arch as you drop just the hips to the floor, and then release the hands as the hips touch down. Here we go. We've got 3 more. Inhaling, sweeping and lifting. Exhaling, letting go. Pulling the abdomen in and up. Dropping the hips down like an arch in the back. And then releasing the hands. And what this does is it starts to stretch out the inner tissues of the abdomen. Inhale, sweep. Exhale completely. Suck it up. Arch and release the hips. Release the hands. Let's do one more. Inhale, sweep. Exhale. Suck it up. Drop the hips. Release the hands. Beautiful job. All right. Roll the knees to the side and using your forearms, because we're trying to imagine that we can't use the wrist and arms, and we're going to come up to what looks like tabletop, except that we're on our forearms instead of on our hands. And our elbows are right underneath our shoulders, and our knees are right underneath our hips. Toes are tucked under, and we press the forearms down, and we try to split the mat apart between the forearms, looking at the thumb, the space between the thumb, and we try to inflate the back between the shoulder blades. And you just take a couple more breaths there. So I'm pressing forearms down and apart, and I'm trying to inflate that back between the shoulder blades, and I'm looking at the space between my thumbs. One more breath. Just waking up and opening the shoulders. From here, we're going to untuck the toes, big toes touching, knees wide apart. Just pull it on back to child's pose. But bring your fingers to your tippy fingers, so you don't go flat hands, but you're reaching long. And then grab your fingers like you're grabbing around a pull-up bar. And so that the fingers don't glide too much, and you'll get a super big stretch through the side body. From here, you just walk 1 or 2 big steps to the left, and then you take your spine with you to the left over that left thigh. You're just doing a side bend there. Take your right hand and finger walk it 1 more inch forward to get that side body long through the right. And then walk your hands back to center. You're still on fingertips, and you're walking over to the right this time, and then you bring the spine right over that left leg. And then you walk those left fingers just 1 more inch forward and get a nice stretch through the side body. And then you come on back to center, plant your forearms down on the floor. Inhale, come back up to tabletop. Again, making sure elbows are underneath shoulders and knees are underneath hips. We do a version of cow-cat. Toes are tucked under. We press the forearms into the floor and wide and look up and take the sitting bones wide back and apart. So we're trying to arch the spine. And then we press down and forward with those forearms and we scoop the belly and we try to curl into cat tilt. Let's do that again. So pressing forearms down and wide. We look forward, we take the sitting bones back and apart, trying to arch the spine, and then exhale, trying to curl, pulling the belly in and up, pressing those forearms forward. Last one, inhale to cow, and exhaling to cat. Beautiful. From here, you're just going to step your legs long. So now we're in forearm plank, and you're going to still press those forearms down on the floor and try to spread them apart. So we're making the shoulders really strong, but I want you to take the tension out of your hands. So you place it just right where it needs to go. The belly lifts in and up, and we use our legs to press the crown another inch forward. And then as you exhale, drop the knees to the floor and take Sphinx pose. Untuck the toes unless you feel pinching in the back. If you feel pinching in the back, and maybe it's just on one side, if it's just on one side, tuck that toe under and use the strength of that leg to bring more engagement to that side of the back. If it's both sides of the back, you tuck both toes under and you bring that engagement up the body, pulling the belly back to meet the spine. One more breath. Beautiful. And then untuck the toes. Try to keep the height in your body and see if you can sneak your arms behind you. Shalabhasana. Okay, now we're going to do just a little variation. So we're going to bring our thumbs to the tips of our shoulders, just right in front. And you're going to use those thumbs to lift up the tips of your shoulders. Use the thumbs, lift the tips of the shoulders. Use the thumbs, lift the tips of the shoulders. Now take the arms back behind you and imagine that the thumbs are lifting the tips of the shoulders. Beautiful. Release it on down. Rest your forehead on your stacked hands and just rock left and right. Be vigorous. Let it go. Just swing some of that tension out of the back and hips. Good. We're going to try that again. So we're going to come up into Sphinx pose. You're going to take a moment to notice what's happening with your low back. If it's feeling tight at all, you have a couple options. One, if it's just one side that's tight, you tuck that toe under. And I find this is true with people with scoliosis, is that usually one side is tighter than the other, so it's helpful to activate just that one side to bring it better into balance. But for some of us, it's both, and so we tuck both legs and we bring that action up through our legs, booty, and we match it with tummy. And see if you can feel how that just brings you a little more upright. And now this becomes a back bend. And if you press those forearms down and go wide, and then if you try to do that same width in your hips, you'll really feel some nice opening, I think. One more breath. And then we untuck the toes, try to keep as much of that height as we can. Sneak our arms back behind us, and imagine our thumbs are at the tip of our shoulders, and they're gently tapping it and nudging the very front of the shoulders up. We want to keep the back of the neck long, and we can also lift our legs. Last breath here, tippy tip up, and then release down. Forehead onto the stacked hands, roll your hips left and right, and give them a little massage. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. Plant your forearms down again like Sphinx. Tuck your toes under. Activate your belly strongly. Lift the hips off the floor and take plank pose. From here, we try to press the forearm down and wide. And then one at a time, we bend one leg and we start to step forward like we're doing downward facing dog. The feet can be wider because you are closer and it's harder. And the shoulders are over the elbows. We press the forearms down into the floor. We release the head and we breathe. The knees can be soft so that you have to use your abdominals One more breath. And then drop the knees to the floor. Feet together, knees together. Sit on back. Vajrasana, take a cleansing breath. From here, we release the hands down by the sides, pressing into the tops of the feet. We sweep the arms up overhead. So this is going to be like our Surya Namaskar sweep. And then as we exhale, we sweep it back down. So as you inhale, you sweep it up and you can look up. And as you exhale, you come on down. We've got 3 more of that. So sweeping, looking up, little teeny back bend. Exhale, sweeping down. And you can see, inhale, that you're opening up the body, moving the lymphatic fluid. Beautiful. From here, let's sweep up one more time. This time, imagine that someone is lifting your wrists up, not your hands. So remember, I want the hands to be easy here. But someone's lifting the wrists up enough that you can step your right leg forward. Beautiful. You take a breath there. Just feeling that stretch of the back of the standing thigh. So press down with that knee. Pull the belly off of your thighs. I know it's not on your thighs, but it's the idea. And then bring your right hand to your right knee and stretch your left arm overhead. So, over to the right. So it's like you're stretching that whole left side. Beautiful. And then come on up. And you're going to sweep your arms overhead as if someone's lifting up your wrists. You step it on back. Woo. And then let's try that second side. So someone's holding onto those wrists, giving you a little buoyancy, and you swing the left leg forward. Take a pause there. Let the wrist relax. Let the hands relax so you feel the whole body stretching. And then you're going to place your left forearm on your left leg, and you're going to stretch over to the left with your right arm, just feeling that whole right side of the body stretching. Beautiful. Come on back to center. Here's the more challenging part. You tuck the back toes under. You can use your hands to reach forward and down, and then you swing and step forward. Utkatasana. You're going to bring your hands to your hips or your forearms or your backs of your wrists. You press down, you lift your belly up, and you come up to standing. Exhale, release. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive over to those strong legs. And maybe if the hands are injured or they're whatever, you just let the hands hang here. I'm just letting the backs of my hands rest on the floor. Now, if that's too far for you, you place blocks or something there so that you have something to place the hands on. And when we have the hands touching something, or the wrists or the forearms, whatever, it sends a message to the legs that all is well, so the hamstrings can release. So from here, we suction cup our feet onto the floor. We draw that energy up. We try to swing the sitting bones away from each other. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. And from here, using those strong active legs, we press up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Lengthen through the crown and take Uttanasana, standing forward fold. And we've got 3 more of those with the breath. So we inhale halfway up, Ardha, half, that means half, Uttanasana, to Uttanasana, full standing forward fold. 2 more, inhaling to Ardha, half Uttanasana. Exhaling to Uttanasana. 2 more. Find the rhythm. Find the breath. Slow it down. Find the pauses. Exhale to Uttanasana. Last one. Inhaling. It's like we're massaging the spine. Exhaling. Beautiful. From here, we inhale halfway up. We bend the knees. Bring our hands to the hips. Bring our abdomen in and inhale to come up. Exhale, release the hands. Let them softly rise to prayer, and just take a moment to feel your feet underneath you, the crown reaching, and the body a little more aligned and a little more aware. Beautiful. From here, release your hands and come to stand so that you're wide on the sticky mat. So your outer edges of your feet are parallel
to the outer edges of the mat. And I know we don't live in an ideal world. If we did, you'd want the wrists right over your ankles. It doesn't mean everybody can do that, but that's where you're working towards. And your knees are soft. So your arms are just out to the side. And again, I want you to drape your fingers. Let your hands go for a moment and notice how that transfers a little more awareness into your legs. So you just feel those feet strongly on the floor. Now bring your hands to the hips. Press through the strong legs. Lift the heart up to the sky. And then exhale, dive forward. Prasarita Padottanasana. And depending on your own stretch, forearms or hands to the floor, but please let your head hang. So let's not put excessive tension in our neck today. Take a breath or two there, making sure the knees stay soft and the sitting bones wide and the belly awake. And then you're going to bend your right knee and just walk over to the right. It's like you can just gently grab that shin and imagine you could bring your forehead to the knee. And then you release that. You press through that same foot as you bend the other knee and just reach over and try to give it a little smooch. And then you press through that foot as you come back to first side. And now just on your own time, you just go left and right. And there's many things you can do with your hands. You could do speed skater. You could have your hands in prayer. You could just drape your arms, or you could fly your arm. Do whatever you want with your arms, but put most of your attention on your legs as you go back and forth. And you're just developing the strength of place, where you're really just finding your place here on the planet and how that just comes up into the strength of your legs and helps you move forward in life, even at times that feel like forward motion is really difficult, which I know in my world, that's what feels true to me. So it's really important that I keep engaging these legs and keep sending that message to my body, mind, that I can move forward in life. Come back to center, and then you're just gonna walk yourself over to the left so that pretty soon your left foot is pointed towards the short edge of the mat, and you swing your back heel up and drop that heel down. And then from there, you just inhale and look forward. And as you exhale, you come back and you flex that front foot and straighten the leg. We call this runner's lunge. And then we inhale forward again. And as we exhale, we sweep around through Prasarita, through that center pose, and all the way to the other side. So that foot, the right foot points to the short edge of the mat, and the left knee comes down to the floor for a lunge. And here we inhale, we press forward, and as we exhale, we stretch that front leg back into runner's lunge. As we inhale, we come forward again. As we exhale, we swing through Prasarita to the other side. As we exhale, the back knee drops. As we inhale, we look forward. As we exhale, we press back to runner's lunge, stretching through the hamstring. And then we inhale back to lunge and exhale back through Prasarita to the other side. Inhaling and exhaling, back knee to the floor. Inhaling, looking forward. Exhaling, pressing to runner's lunge. Inhaling back to lunge. And exhaling back to Prasarita. We're going to stay right there in the middle there. Walk the heels a little slower, elbows to the knees. I said a little slower. I meant bring the heels in a little closer. And then press with the elbows out the knees. So you just go a wide squat. And you just try to go left and right. And just get into that whole pelvic floor, inner thigh stretch position. A couple more breaths as best you can. Can you release the tension out of your hands and just let it drape? And see if that will come up into your shoulders, even releasing tension out of neck and shoulders. Come back to center. You can walk your hands onto your knees, press down, and come up to standing. Take a cleansing breath, roll the shoulders. We're going to turn the left foot out. Actually, I'm going to try to change that and say right foot so that I'm mirroring you. And the left foot is going to go square to the back of the mat. So we're going to prep for a moving
Virabhadrasana to warrior pose. So I'm going to take my right hand on my right knee, and I'm going to take that right knee and bend it. And the hand is there just to guide it. So you're going to bend and you're going to straighten. So inhale as you bend and exhale as you straighten. And you're just getting used to bending that knee to a square. So you're making sure that the knee goes right over second and third toes. Yeah, because this is really important. If you don't bend to a square, every time you do this pose, you kind of wear the knee out a little bit more. Let me do that. And then we're going to come back up to straight legs, turn that foot forward, and reverse and do the other one. So you let your left hand glide down towards the knee, and you just press that knee forward. And just get to know your own stance. So if the knee goes beyond the shin, like it's no longer vertical, then you've gone too far. So you have to widen your stance. So you make sure that that's always happening. Now take your vision back to your back foot. And notice if you're rocking on the inner edge, that's also weakening. So as you bend that knee to a square, you also want to keep that back foot really planted. That's kind of like an anchor for you. One more here. And then you come back up, turn that foot in. Just take a breath. You can roll the shoulders. And then we're going to turn that first right foot out. And this time you're going to bend. And then you're going to lift the toes and straighten, like push the heel towards straighten. And then as you bend, you drop you drop the foot. And as you straighten, you lift the toes. So it's dropping and lifting. And I want you to start to feel how important it is to press through that heel to straighten the leg. So you just wake up some muscles. Now you're going to keep that going, because I think you've got that. And you're going to put your focus on your back foot. And you're going to notice if that changes as you bend. And I want it to get stronger. So the anchor of that foot gets stronger, even as you bend and straighten. One more. Beautiful. And then turn that foot in. Take a cleansing breath. You could roll your shoulders. You could even do a big sweep of your arms. And let's do second side. So we're going to turn that left foot out, making sure that it's going to track right. So do a couple trackings. And then you're going to track. And you're going to lift the toes. And you're going to press towards straight. So as you drop the toes, you track it. And then you lift it and straighten. And as you get better at that rhythm, like as soon as you get it, then you take your attention to your back foot. And you just notice, am I rocking on the inner edge? If I am, I'm weakening my stance. So I've got to keep pushing. And it means that you have to have a little width in your hip, by the way. So as you get that foot flat, it also helps to open up this back hip so that you're not crunching it. Okay, we've got one more. Beautiful. And then release that and turn your feet straight forward. And just close your eyes for a moment and see if you notice a nice warm up through the hips. We've got one more. So turn that right foot out. This time we're going to do a moving flow between Utthita Parsvakonasana and Goddess Warrior. So you're going to bend and track that knee right over the second toe. You're going to take your awareness back on the back foot. You've learned a lot, so use all the things you've learned. It's not rocking on the inner edge. It's rooting and planting all four corners. The right elbow comes to the right knee, and we sweep the arm up overhead. So that's the first part of the exercise. Then we keep the legs just that strong, just that rooted, and we sweep the arms up and then back. As the left arm taps that left leg, gently we sweep the arm overhead. And then we inhale back to Utthita. And we exhale back to Goddess. And maybe you notice that the legs stay just as they are. And they don't move at all. Exhaling back. Inhaling to Goddess. To Utthita. Exhaling to Goddess. One more. Inhaling to Utthita. Exhaling to Goddess. Press through that strong Goddess leg and turn your feet straight forward. Take a cleansing breath. You could roll here. You could sweep here. Do what feels good to you. It's your practice. Now turn your left foot out, and we'll see if we can recreate that on the second side. So just one more note of alignment, because I can notice when I go right here, already my back thigh is wanting to rotate forward, and I'm wanting to put all the weight on my inner back foot. So I've got to counteract that by pressing that foot down and widening that inner hip a little bit as I bend the front knee forward to take Utthita. Inhale the arm up overhead. Take a breath there. We'll do slowly the first two poses, and then we'll add it to the breath cycle. So from here, you press down and you sweep around for Goddess Warrior, or if you're a guy, you would call it Reverse Warrior. Or maybe you want to bring more Goddess energy in, even if you're a guy. Here we go. Inhale to Utthita. Exhale to Goddess. Inhale to Utthita. Exhale to Goddess. And I'm going to just keep some attention on that front knee and that back foot. So I just really get to learn that they stay planted and rooted, and nothing much moves below my waistline. It's all happening above. Beautiful. From here, stretch that front leg towards straight. Bring both feet straight forward. Sweep your arms up overhead. This time you're going to interlace your hands behind you. Fingers clasped, interlace, bend the knees, but lift the heart. And then exhale, dive forward, and feel the stretch of your shoulders. Let the head hang. And take a deep breath or two. Big stretch for the shoulder. One more breath. Head is hanging, legs are strong and mindful. Sitting bones moving back and apart. Belly lifted and awake. Last breath. Beautiful. Release your hands. And from here, if you can try to rest on your forearms, or if you have no hand wrist problems, hands, and you're going to bring your knees all the way together and just sit down in Vajrasana. Take a breath. And from here, we just rock out onto our right hip. So now my legs are off to the side, and the bottom foot is tucked in a little bit. And I'm just going to take my right hand to my left knee. So I'm reaching across my body, and I'm just going to very gently find that knee and lift it up a little bit. And that will help. Remember that seesaw action? So as the knee lifts, the thigh can drop. And then I just breathe and I twist a little to the left there. Trying to lengthen through my crown. I can use my left hand as well on the floor to help me stay strong and lift it. Nice twist. One more breath. And then very gently release that. And then I swing my arms around. So now they're in the same configuration as my thigh, unless I need to adjust, which I had to bring that thigh parallel to the short edge of the mat. And then my hands go, my tippy fingers or my forearms go parallel or perpendicular to that short edge, and so we get a little twist here. And then we use those legs that are close to each other to squeeze the inner thighs, feel that uplift in the spine, and then we just stretch. We find that lovely twist. The low belly draws in and up. Try to soften and melt the space behind the shoulder blades. Last breath here. And then very gently press yourself up. You're going to just come back up to Vajrasana, taking a breath there. And then we roll out onto the left hip, and the legs are off to the right and tucked into one another. We reach across the body with the left hand and just gently pick up that knee to help that hip drop a little bit more. The right hand can go behind us, and we just find ourselves working at lengthening and twisting. Couple more breaths, finding length through the crown. And then release that. You're going to sweep your arms around and you want to make sure that front thigh is parallel to the short edge of the mat. So adjust if you need to. And then you come down onto your forearms. And again, you can do what we did at the beginning of class where we press the forearms down and try to squeeze them apart.
and you squeeze the legs together, especially up at the inner thighs, and you feel yourself lengthening through crown. See if you can melt the space behind the shoulder blades, behind the neck. See if you can take tension out of the hands and place the tension more where it's needed, which would be support of the low back, support of the width of the shoulders, support of the belly, the front body. Last breath. And then from here, you're just going to, as best you can, swing your legs around. Here's our very last one. We bring the heels in as close to the booty as possible, and as the knees as close to one another as is possible. And that's going to vary for each one of you. And you can just keep adjusting that in. So you keep tucking those feet a little bit closer. And then if you can, you hug around your knees. And you use the strength of your legs to uplift the spine. So I'm going to try to get my spine as long as possible here. And I keep squeezing those legs like a tube of toothpaste, squeezing it properly at the bottom as you lengthen through the crown. And we'll just do 4 or 5 breaths here, just squeezing, lengthening, finding that deep, deep internal action that helps the spine get longer. Two more breaths. It gets better over time. Beautiful. And then from here, you're going to let those legs migrate out a little bit farther. I like to place my toes up, so my heels are on the floor. I like to take a strap sometimes around my feet, or you can just hold under behind the knees, behind the thighs, and see how slowly you can roll down, pulling your abdominals in and up. It's like they're lengthening and tractioning the spine. And you try to go down one vertebra at a time, trying to find each one to touch on its own before you come all the way down and stretch long. Taking another breath or two here, extending through heels, feeling the action of legs up to booty, the drawing in and up of the belly, and the stretching of the arms overhead, chin tucking in slightly, feeling side body long. Couple more breaths here. One more. And then release everything out. Let the hands come down towards your side, palms face up. Let the feet fall out to the side. And let all that effort go. That same relaxation or letting go of your hands, let that start to translate through your entire body. Noticing where's the last place for you to let go. That's an important thing to learn, I think. Is it your belly, your worry place? Is it your heart, your wounded place? What is hard for you to let go? And just for this moment, just release all tension there. Let it go. And this is where I say thank you and namaste. And you can stay there as long as you'd like. I recommend about 5 to 7 minutes, or 10 if you'd like, where you just let yourself go and rest and take in all the learnings of the practice. Namaste. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.